I could pull a better podcast out of my head. Hey, kids, welcome to the Tempest universe.
China.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
It's China to me, China.
Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside.
China.
This is the Tempest universe, man. Hold on to your ass. You're in for a hell of a ride.
Welcome to another live YouTube episode of the Tempest Universe. I'm your host, Manny. And like I said, all damn week long, actually since last week, we have a special guest today here to talk to us about an area out in Montana that actually, you guys actually had a couple reports on the Dark Horror podcast about this particular situation known as Redgate. But today we got Patrick Cutler and we got Don, is it Bromley? Or Bromley?
Yes, sir. Bromley.
Okay, Bromley.
I'm not French.
I'm
not French.
I mean, I don't
He's only French. He's trying to get laid.
There you go. That's the best time to be French, isn't it?
Ain't that truth?
So these two guys, by the way, these guys are awesome. I can tell you right now. We're going to have a very good episode this time around. And so these, I don't even know how to start it, but there's a film called Redgate that these guys are on the trail of, on the beaten path, basically, when it comes to this topic of ufology, strange things, the paranormal. And they're out there trying to get this film out, get it in front of people. Patrick, you are the, director, producer?
Director. Yeah, I'm the director. And, the director, editor, all the filmmaking type stuff. Then we have a separate producer for the show.
Okay. Jack of all trades.
Yeah, I do a lot.
Yeah. Now, we were talking earlier, it seems like something set this off. So let's talk about the film and how Don is a part of this.
So I started this film back several years ago. I was in Alaska at the time with a different job, and I had been working on different films throughout my life. And an idea that I'd had is I wanted to do a horror, kind of like a fictional type horror film on this area called Redgate. So when we were all kids growing up in this place called Deer Lodge, Montana, it's a beautiful small town of Montana with just this huge valley, beautiful mountain ranges on both sides of the town. And on one of the mountain ranges, back in the mining days when they had mining camps up there, there was a mining community up there, and the guy had, this is a folklore tale we would tell around the campfires, kids, that this guy had a homestead, came home from the mine one day, went to his house, grabbed his axe, chopped up his wife, chopped up his two kids, and then the next day they went by his homestead and saw him outside the homestead painting the gate of their homestead red with their blood. So I thought that was like one of the creepiest folklore tales.
Yeah, no kidding.
Alive as a kid. That was like, grew up in Duros. That was like the tale. I was like, man, I'm a filmmaker. It'd be so cool to do like a really cool, badass horror film on that. Well, I started writing a horror film on it, and I started tying in history of the town and doing investigative stuff for it, still with the idea of like, let's tie in some truthful history background of the town and tie it all together, kind of like a Blair Witch type thing. But the film would kind of mostly be fictional. Mm-hmm. Well, I started to investigate it, and the more I investigated, the more I found out that the whole thing is actually true. Like, none of it was fictional. And then that's when I bumped into Don, and Don had caught this alien image on his trail cam right in the middle when I was doing this film, and he contacted me actually because he knew I was working on Redgate. And Don, you can kind of tell your side of how you got into this.
Yeah, let's get Don, because wait, hold on a second, Don. Let me just pull this up here because the people got to see. Now the guys are on the podcast. You're not going to see this, but the link is going to be in the description. But it's the UK Sun, and there's Don. There's his picture, and there's something right next to you.
Yeah, once that hit the Sun, holy hell. That's when this whole picture went viral, as they say.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, the title on this thing is, I photographed a bulbous-headed naked alien. I mean, that's going to make all kind of pages, Pornhub, it'll make all these other.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. A little porn dub action.
I was
So,
like, yeah, there we go, man.
ladies,
There
hit
you go.
me up. I get bulbous-headed naked aliens in Montana. Come see me. You know.
Oh, that's hilarious. But tell me about this picture. How did this happen?
I ran an outfitter business for a lot of years, and I was a guide for about a decade. And my stock and trail cameras went pretty high, and I got about 120 of them. And for people who aren't familiar with trail cameras, it's a motion triggered device that you place on a tree or a rock or a bush in the mountains. And then when something walks in front of it, it trips the camera and it'll take a still shot. You can have them set to videos as well. I have a few that way. But this particular camera was on the edge of this big ranch that I worked for. And I had about, 20 to 30 cameras in this certain area. And I got back into this big draw where it's in the middle of absolute nowhere. And I thought, well, I'll set one in here and see what I get. I set the camera up in about August. And I went back in October and I walked up to this trail cam. I checked all the cameras going up to this one and didn't get anything weird, any trespassers, any people. And I get to this camera and it's completely dead, which is very odd. I run lithium batteries in my cameras, which usually you'll fill a 16 gig card up, 32 gig card before the camera actually dies. Right. So I was like, maybe it's a defective camera or, all the excuses, and pull the SD card out, download the images. And I get to the last 3 images because I was sent 3 pictures per trigger. And I captured that image, and the next 2 were completely blank. And then the camera died. So as I'm standing there, I dropped 8 new AA batteries into the camera, and I go to turn it on, and every setting I put the camera on, it would just glitch.
Really?
It wouldn't show anything. It wasn't having it. So I thought that was odd enough. I started looking at this image. I thought, well, I guess I got a trespasser. That was my first thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I started looking at it like, wow, it's late at night in the middle of nowhere, going the wrong direction, because the direction that the image is going, it's miles from public access at all. So that was the other weird, kicker of, what could this be? I went to delete it off my phone. I thought, boy, this is just a little too weird. I don't want this on my phone. Delete picture, yes. Are you sure you want to delete it? And I'm like, I could probably show this to a couple of my buddies and freak them out. That was my mindset,
Yeah.
That was in 2018. 2 years later, I met a guy at what's called an antler opener, a wildlife management area that's closed to the public until May 15th. I go in, come across this guy, BS with him for a little bit, come off the mountain, and my other buddy I took up there, he's like, hey, I'm on top. I'm just going to stop on the road. Come pick me up. Well, I drive up, and there's this guy. He's sitting on this guy's tailgate. And it's the same guy I talked to earlier. And I start BSing with his son, this guy's son. And he's like, something about trail cams got brought up. And he says, have you ever got anything weird on camera? I thought, well, as a matter of fact. So I rifle through all my pictures, and I show him this image. And he goes, oh, man, I got to show my dad this. This is weird. His dad comes around the corner, and he looks at the image, and he laughs. And he goes, oh, you photoshopped this. You made this picture. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, man, this is original. He goes, are you serious? I said, yeah, I didn't tamper with this at all. He goes, well, I have a TV show on the Sportsman's Channel. I have all my camera gear in my truck. How about you sit on this stump over here, and we'll do an interview about this picture.
Oh, there you go.
So I sat down, did a little interview for, it's called Carbon TV's Outdoor Weekly. And they ran my show. They ran the show on their platform. And within less than a month, I was contacted by the History Channel. And they featured me on The Proof Is Out There, which was
nice.
The ending was really bad. This woman that they brought in as an expert, she didn't know if she was coming or going. Like, she compared it to Bigfoot. Like, it was truly a shame to the picture. But the cool part of it is they had a professional come in and dissect the photo to make sure it wasn't tampered with. And his findings, like, no, this is definitely an original photo. And since then, I've been on Discovery Channel, a few other entities, And then the local news in Butte, Montana, right down the road from us, that guy reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm doing a story on paranormal. Would you be interested?" So that's when I reached out to Pat and I said, "Hey, Pat, I know you're doing the Redgate film. You want to come up to this interview?" And from that point forward, it's just been fire. Like, it's just nonstop ever since we collaborated, and now here we are.
Now that's an incredible story to have this, and you actually sat on it for 2 years.
Yeah, right.
That is crazy. 2 years, and you just happen to show it to the right person.
Yep.
That helped you get the story out, and here we are. You're like a superstar now.
Yeah, I bought my buddy a bottle of Patron, the one that was too lazy to walk back to the truck, because if he'd have walked off the mountain, we'd have just left.
Yeah.
But because he didn't walk off, that's when I showed up, and it's kind of funny how little things have to line up just right to make that happen. You know,
yeah, unexpectedly, right? So
right.
Then you contact Patrick, and he's like, "What?" What was your reaction, Patrick?
Yeah, well, he contacted me, and I was kind of putting together a lot of things at the time, and I was like, "Oh, wait, no way!" So I was like, "Yeah, I'll go on TV and talk about this." So then I had no idea at the time what Don's connection was to Redgate or anything. He shows up, we get in the vehicle, and he pulls out his phone, shows me the photo image, and I was like, "Whoa, that is weird." I didn't know. I honestly didn't know what to think. It was just kind of Don. I was always asking, "What do I think?" At first, like, I didn't really know what to think when I first looked at it, And then we drove up to the area. We shot the TV interview with the local news station here, and then they did a big story on it. And from there, a lot of things changed, And we've been followed around by unmarked black SUVs, just bizarre shit like that.
Really?
It's unexplainable.
Yeah.
The more that we've gone after this, the more bizarre things have happened. It's just really weird.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, I know that Redgate has, I would say, kind of a ominous, rich history when it comes to aliens and paranormal and stuff like that. I was even looking at a story about some lady named Linda Cohen, who back in the 60s, her and her brother apparently, and she didn't recall it, but her brother recalled all these interactions with ETs.
So, yeah, that's kind of where the alien part of it really kind of takes off. Because it's multiple dimensions to this whole thing. It's very wild. Some of the stories can tell you. But one of the biggest parts in the early days of all the stuff happening is, they said, so what happened with Linda Cohen, her brother, what happened is they went, they did a documentary. You can look it up on YouTube and watch it for free. It's a little shoddy, but some of the stuff that happens and it's really interesting. That one's actually called The Secret of Redgate. If you Google that on YouTube, you can pull it up. But what they did is they sat down, both of them, it was 2004, 2005, and they did past regression hypnosis. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Yeah, those
you
are
hear
amazing.
Some crazy stuff out of those things.
Oh, they're great. So, if the audience doesn't know what it is, basically they do hypnosis where they relive old memories that are traumatic that were buried inside their minds that they have a tough time bringing up.
Kind of like the recordings for Betty and Barney Hill when they went through that, first abductees officially. But,
So this documentary, they're going through it, and I think the date was 1950 when they were real little is when they're telling these stories of these aliens that they met, and they're I'll just read off what I recorded documented from this whole thing. They met basically two aliens they called their gray friends in the woods. They met them down by a river. They even found a spacecraft they got on board, and they described the creatures as about 4 feet high, gray with huge black eyes. So they weren't super tall, but this is kind of a description of what they call the grays. And for the next couple of years, they would frequently meet with these aliens, go above on the ship several times. And they got this through the past hypnosis regression, which is really interesting to me because when they do that, they get super emotional too. It's and they're like, "Are you sad?" It's like, "No, I'm happy," but I'm happy. It's weird. I don't know. I've never been up close to a gray alien that maybe I'd start crying too, right?
Like Matthew Lillard.
These guys, when they go through this regression therapy, everything comes out. All their feelings. It's like they're really back there again, experiencing this thing all over again. So, man, I've seen some crazy videos that have to do with that. So, so you guys get together. So, is your film done at this point? At the point that Don reaches out to you?
No, I was still working on it actually. To tell you the truth, I was still working on the film when he reached out. I was kind of getting towards the final film at that point, and there's so much stuff. I was a little bit lost, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do at the point with the film. And then when Dawn contacted me, it just felt like the whole thing took a whole different direction, and all of a sudden, like, whoa, this picture changes everything about this film and everything that I knew. And that's when I started putting even more work into it. And it's I would say it's a final finished project. We've been entering into film festivals, but the final copy of it will probably be a little bit different, and that's going to come out. We kind of started a target date now, late August to late September, somewhere in there. I'm going to have a full big release of it online, and it's going to be a wicked time to see what happens, because I know there's a lot of people out there, probably within the government, probably doesn't want this film to see the light of day.
Oh yeah,
I mean, yeah. No, that's crazy.
And we know as of recently that the openly the government's trying to get involved in this particular topic, through the Unintelligent Committee and those guys. But so when this film comes out, and you're out there and you're talking to folks, or even when you're kind of previewing it, did you believe? Like when you started this, did you believe in this topic?
I don't know if I really did, to tell you the truth. I'm just being honest. Like, I don't think Don believed either until he got his
No, Don's like, nobody ever asked that question.
I really was trying to do a fictional film and then build in some truthful stories to add to the element of like being semi of a true story and some crazy things. And I did, but initially, especially in the very early stages, I was planning on doing a purely fictional film, and it turned out to be something that was a purely 100% honest, accurate documentary of some crazy events that have happened in this Redgate area.
Mm-hmm. And Don, what's your take on it?
It's interesting. I've been asked this a few times. When I was, 10 years ago, I was working for this ranch, and we were calving, which calving entails at this particular ranch, you saddle your horse and you go ride out and you check the herd of cows, and hopefully you have no problems, or just got to bring them into the barn. It's a big process. Well, I rode out one day, I think it was a Wednesday, and I'm riding through this field, and I can see this black being in the middle of the field. I'm like, well, that wasn't here yesterday. So I ride my horse up to it, and it's a cow with a perfect 4 or 5 inch circle in its side, and it's just hide and bones. No inner organs or anything. It's just, it looks like it's been there for a year, but I was there the day before, so I know it had to happen within 24 hours.
Right.
That was my first red flag. Like, wow, this is out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up bringing the owner of the ranch down, and I showed it to him, and all he said was, go drag this off to the dead pit and don't tell anybody about this, because it's very, very taboo, especially for cattle owners or anybody for that matter. So that was the only insight I really had into the paranormal field. That was the only thing I had interesting. And it's very strange that 10 years later I captured this image in the same range as Redgate and all the stories I heard growing up, just like Pat heard. So then I started to really think about it, and the more it's going, the more people this picture comes across. Most people now, they'll come up to me and they almost confide in me because I have this image. So let me tell you my story, and I've heard some wild stories.
I bet you have, especially at these conferences and festivals.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yep.
Cattle mutilation's not something I enjoy as a topic, only because, for fuck's sake, how dumb are you aliens? You keep freaking mutilating the cattle.
Right.
What's going on?
Right. Ask more questions than answers them,
Exactly. So you guys are so you say about August, this film is going to be out, and where will people be able to see the film?
It's secretofredgate.com is the website, and you can go there right now, secretofredgate.com, and it's going to be converted into a different type of website. Right now, it just has the most up-to-date basic information about the film, but that's where it's going to be released. Again, late August, late September, somewhere in there. I need to develop the marketing and everything else for it and make sure I have enough bandwidth and all these different things to release it. But somewhere in there, it's going to be released 100% online to the public, and it's going to be really interesting to see when that happens.
Yeah. Now, along with the folks that might share their stories and their experiences when it comes to the alien agenda and things like that, Have you had folks that question the validity of the photo? Being, I see someone wearing a shirt, maybe smoking a cigarette. You know what I mean? Where people see a lot of different things in the image.
I'd say really quick, Don. I just had a guy that I emailed about being on their podcast email me back, and he's like, he said he just questioned it. He's like, "Are you sure that's not a human?" So then I responded right away. Don has a comparison image of himself going in front of it, so I responded right away. I was like, "It's definitely not human because look at this photo of a human going across that same camera. That's what it looks like."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you're saying, so how far was this image or this particular camera from, let's say, the nearest house or farm or what have you?
At least, I don't know, 7 to 10 miles. And Pat's been there. I didn't want to go back. I don't like going back to this area. It's just
I bet, yeah, I wouldn't go back either.
But Pat, he's all about it. He's trying to meet aliens and shit. No, not me. But,
Yeah.
It's so remote that that also adds into the entire equation of this image because this particular ranch, I know everybody that gets to hunt it, everybody that's in there that time of year. And I reached out to, there's only like 3 guys that can hunt it. And they're, no, we weren't in there at all. So there is the concept that, you know, maybe somebody snuck in. Maybe it's a person. Like I said, you know, the History Channel, they did not do me any justice.
No.
The lady at the end, she goes, well, it's a guy in a hoodie. It's debunked.
And just like that.
Yeah, I got like 92 text messages within like a minute when she said that because everybody's like, how does that come about? Because I mean, I have a comparison and I'm wearing a hoodie in the image and it's night and day still.
Yeah, the worst thing about the History Channel special is that they did a very good job of going through with they have a guy who analyzes validity of photos and he does different heat ranges and stuff on a photo to make sure it's an actual legit photo. They had a guy that did that confirmed it as a fully verifiable photo, which was really cool the way they presented it. The thing that sucks is like it's just they ended so badly where it's like they brought on a lady that's used to analyzing coyotes in front of a trail camera and it just blew my mind. Yeah. No, I was disappointed at the end of it. I was like, come on.
Yeah. So here's another question for both of you. So you're in this area, Redgate. You're familiar with it and stuff like that. Is it any? Do you ever get the feeling that this might be a little bit skinwalker-ish?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I've heard a lot of them. I've had a few experts on some podcasts go through and tell me, you know, this is a 5th dimensional reptilian, or this is an Arcturian. This is a skinwalker. This is a spirit. This is a ghost. I've heard them all. And it's hard because nobody's wrong because we don't actually know.
Right.
But when somebody, and I have it all the time, like, well, that's a person. You're trying to make money. You're trying to do something with a trespasser on your trail cam. How dumb are you? Like, that's the only ones that really get me because it's mostly that closed mind, you know, aspect that, you know, you can't just straight say it's a person.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be. I mean, I'm not denying it, but the odds the other way are a little heavier. So
yeah, there's no evidence either way, but the image is kind of creepy.
Right.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's
right.
a creepy image.
So, I got to hit on that real quick. So when Pat and I were in Dallas last weekend, we went to get an autograph from Matthew Lillard, who was in Scream and Scooby-Doo and all this. And we walk up to him to sign a picture for me. And I said, hey, I have a question for you. Do you believe in aliens? And he's like, I don't know. Okay, yeah. He didn't give me a straight answer. So well, I got this image from, you know, Redgate, Montana. And he goes, okay, let me see it. So he looks at my phone. He looks at the image and doesn't say a word. So I, you know, kind of followed up like, I want to know of all people what you think it is. I said, slide over and you can see the comparison photo. Right. And he's looking at it and he goes, well, that's pretty creepy. Actually, that's the weirdest thing I've seen all week. And then flip of a coin, he goes, get out of here, you assholes. He starts yelling at us at the festival.
He's like, I'm not real asleep now.
Yeah, there's people crying to meet him and he's cussing us out. Like,
oh, that is hilarious. That is funny. Too funny. That is crazy. So you got the film. Now you sent me an email. You said it's like 90% fictional. Is that still the case?
No, it's changed. It's 100% true.
Okay.
There isn't really that element. I mean, I think there's a time there, the stuff that wasn't, necessarily 100% accurate has kind of been removed from the film, you would say, and it's changed completely. But yeah, it's 100% accurate. It's a crazy film. It's just wild. It's just wild. The whole thing's wild. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you guys now going to band together and go alien hunting?
Oh
them down?
yeah.
Oh yeah. We have several, I'd say teams on board right now that want to come out this summer and do full investigations up there. And I'm working with those guys right now. Me and Don are trying to schedule those things. Because we're working on another documentary piece, and there's a lot coming out of this right now. There's a TV show deal on the table right now that we're looking at, and it's just been a wild ride. And we're just, the more we get into this, the more we get closer to the bottom of what's going on. Because we have, a lot of people don't know is a lot of alien activity and paranormal stuff. It stops with the photograph or the stories or the experiences and stuff like that. With Redgate, it's been coming into our physical world because there's been several just brutal, bizarre murders in the Redgate area out of nowhere. And I'll just give you one for example. I had a couple of years ago. This lady and this guy are married and they live out of town right in the Redgate area. And the husband comes home just out of nowhere, goes outside, shoots his 5-year-old son in the head, shoots his 4-year-old son in the head, goes inside, shoots his 15-month-old daughter in the head, shoots his wife in the head, then lays them all down in this bed in their cabin up in the Redgate area, lights the cabin on fire, and then shoots himself out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Right.
It reminds me of the Amityville.
Yeah.
That kind of craziness.
Yeah, you talk about skinwalkers, and skinwalkers have been known to shapeshift and possess people just like paranormal demonic spirits have. And that's where it's like, what? This doesn't make any sense. It's like, what would possess somebody to do something so insane out of nowhere?
Yeah, that's just wild. Now, we know Don has seen some stuff, being out there. What about you? What have you seen besides, Don's picture?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I've seen is these meth heads down at the Montana bar.
And you were trying to date them, like, oh, geez.
Oh, geez.
We're actually not going to promote the film anymore. We're just going to promote the Montana bar.
There you go.
No, there's some scary things at the bars at night here. But anyways.
Yeah. You didn't get to experience that in Dallas, you mean?
Oh, we did.
Oh, we did. We found
a
place that was a biker bar down there. It was wild.
That was wild.
But I've had paranormal. A lot of experiences I've had has been more paranormal, I would say. We have Deer Lodge was there's a old Montana State Prison because Deer Lodge is what hosts the Montana State Prison, and the old Montana State Prison is still in town, and it's like a museum. So we used to do me and my brothers used to do theater plays inside that old prison museum because there's a theater in there and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. But I could tell you a bunch of bizarre stories of weird things happening in that old prison because back in the 70s, there was a riot inside that prison where a bunch of people died in there. There's been they used to have live executions in there, which were live hangings, stuff like that, all kinds of bizarre stuff. And the paranormal activity in that old prison is through the roof, really. So from my experiences, I've heard it's like footsteps walking. Like we were doing a theater performance once in there, and they were saying, "Could you tell them to be quiet back on the roof? They're walking up on top of the roof and making a bunch of noise." And we're like, "We don't have access to the roof."
Oh, jeez.
Yes. We used to go in with audio recorders and just the cell blocks at night in the dark, just open cell blocks. Ooh.
No thanks.
Oh, yeah. And we used to catch like EVP and stuff. I stopped doing that one. I'd like to do a tour of that again one day because I haven't done one in years. But that's where I experienced a lot of paranormal type stuff. And then I too, from time to time, driving in the hills, have seen bizarre things in the sky. Because all of us live in, the Deer Lodge Valley with these big mountain ranges. All of us, multiple times, whether we're snowmobiling up there, hunting, maybe just a camping trip, or coming out of the hills at night. And if you do that several times throughout the year, you're bound to see stuff. And just recently, a couple from Pennsylvania moved out into the Redgate area, and they had no idea what Redgate was about. And Don, you said they've seen all kinds of stuff since they moved out there.
Yeah, they moved to a cabin in the Redgate area, and I came across them, and I said, "Where do you guys live at?" "Oh, we live up Orfino, over on the east side of Deer Lodge." And I said, "Oh, you live in Alienville," just as a joke. And they elbow each other, and they say, "Should we tell him?" Like, "Oh yeah, let's tell him." And they're like, "I don't know what it is, but we're seeing these weird red lights in the sky, like in a triangle fashion, and flashing, and then they go into one, and then they disappear, and that's one of, I don't know, 100 stories I've heard since my picture dropped of weird sightings, lights in the sky, true high strange area stuff."
Yeah, that's it's incredible, especially it really does have the Redgate area a rich history of some high strangeness for sure.
Yeah,
and there's no doubt about that. But I think it's just incredible how all this came together for you guys, especially with Patrick working on this film and then you showing up with that superstar photo to really kick things off. I think it's really fortunate, especially right now when we're looking at a situation where globally, nationally, there's a lot of more interest in this topic, and people are really coming out of the woodwork, telling their stories, and not being as afraid as they used to be back in the day.
Yeah, right. A lot of that, they'd either get a lot of attention from people around town or the government would do things. And it was just like, back in the day, it was a lot more scarier coming out. It's not as scary, I would say, but we've had all kinds of bizarre phone calls and weird things happen since we started on this journey that, really unexplainable. The government's, my view is the government wants to know as much about UFOs and aliens as possible, because number one, there are people that think they're a threat to us. That's kind of like a debatable thing we've had, whether they're a threat or not, or they're friendly. But the other part is whatever country gets this alien technology the fastest is going to rule the world. So I think they look at it like that aspect too. So they're always keeping tabs on what's going on for sure. And that's why.
Yeah, they got that technology. Good old NSA. So where do you think things go from now? You got the film, you got other projects. Are you guys really going to get heavily involved in this the topic going forward? Becoming basically subject matter experts in the Montana area?
Yeah, I'm at that point now that I'm realizing I need to be the most versed guy out there, because originally I was like, oh, the weird alien guy, like, I don't think that's really me. And now that everything has happened, I'm definitely the face of that because of that image alone. And I need to be versed, and I need to, be able to take information and transcribe it and figure out, what's going on. And it's nonstop. It's almost every day I'm seeing and hearing all new stories about Redgate that I haven't heard before.
Yeah, a lot of people come to Diane, a lot of people come to me too also. Both of us get tons of messages every day with new stories about this. I mean, just recently, like a little over a month ago, up in the Redgate area, these dogs were tortured, skinned, mutilated, and hung on trees with shock collars on their necks with their ears cut off. And we're looking at this, it's like, dude, what the fuck is this about?
Yeah, what do you do with that?
Yeah, what is that? Right. And then it's so bizarre. And then the cops come out and they don't even investigate hardly. And they come out and they say, well, they're sometimes dogs, they just die of natural causes.
And no foul play.
What?
No
foul play.
It said no foul play here.
Holy moly, what is that
strange.
about?
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah, it sounds like they've seen a lot of this. It doesn't even faze them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's pretty common.
They say this is dogs die of natural causes, and then they reference several other similar incidents with dogs that have happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's like, what you're not making any sense here. Like, what is going on? Like, what they try to do, I think that they try to do in the sheriff's office is try to calm the public perception of things as much as possible. But when dogs are hanging from trees, skinned alive, it's kind of hard to just sit there and say that's natural causes.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem somewhere. Someone's got issues. Here's another question. Usually when folks experience things, one of the things that always is a curiosity to me is how their families kind of react to it. So I know, Don, when you found that picture, family members, what was their reaction to it?
My mother is a saint. Let me just make this very clear here. She's one step away from Amish, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I showed her that image and I explained the circumstances, and all she could do was just stare at the image and just shake her head. And she says, you have something here. It's unexplainable. I also, on the other side of that coin, though, I have people that in my life that don't want it to really be in the limelight because it's almost a taboo thing in Deer Lodge. Like, oh, that's the weird family, the weird alien guy family. Like, so just tell people it's a person and just move on. Like, you're just wasting your time, So it's been interesting to see both sides of that coin that, it's affected everything in my life, though, for sure. My entire life is on a different path now ever since that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think the weirdest one for me, though, after the picture actually, not so much went viral, not when the sun dropped it in Britain, but when it dropped on History Channel, I was still working for this ranch. And I was building fence on top in the back in the middle of nowhere. And I was coming off the mountain with this ranch hand in my truck. And we look up on the hill, and I'm like, hey, look at that truck up there. They can't be here. That's trespassing. And it was a black Suburban. I thought, okay, well, let's go confront them because I get aliens on camera. I'm not afraid of anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And we start towards this vehicle, and it just takes off, burns out around the corner. And the thing that always sticks out to me is once it blew by my truck, it was completely blacked out, but there was no license plate on the back. And I still to this day wonder what that whole thing was about. And it was just weird enough that it stuck with me,
Yeah. And, that's something else that comes with this topic, right? The weird people following you and watching you, that feeling that someone's always there. Do you guys get that a lot?
Constantly. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I've had weird vehicles follow me home because my podcast studio is here and my house is somewhere else. And I've had a vehicle follow me home before, and I'm turning off finally to my street, and it keeps following me. And then as I turn off, I look behind me to see if it keeps going straight or whatever, and it just completely disappears. Just bizarre stuff like that, where it's like, okay, what is going on here? Like, 'cause I just saw a vehicle behind me this entire time, and now it just like, boom, vanished.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's just weird stuff like that. Just kind of blows your mind.
Yeah, you guys ever regret even showing the picture or doing the film?
Nope. I think it's public knowledge. I think that picture needs to be shared with as many people as it can be. But in the same breath, a lot of people are very close-minded, very sheepish, I would say. And you also hit that other nerve with people that I'm just trying to stir the pot. I'm trying to make money on something that's not real. It's I don't regret it at all. And I'm Pat. I can probably speak for you on that too.
No, it's been crazy because we've just uncovered something. Like I said, it started out as a different project and just uncovered something way more darker and sinister and bizarre than I could ever really imagine. I mean, Don got a call a couple months ago from a guy that has high-level government contracts, a private contractor, really high up there, and basically almost was like a warning to us. What did he say on that call?
Yeah, he said two things. He goes, well, because I've been following your picture since it dropped in the sun in January, and I'm a big fan, which was wild because I'm a big fan of this guy. So I'm like, thank you. And he goes, okay, aliens don't exist, right? And I said, okay. He goes, aliens don't exist because the government says they don't exist. That was his first line. And then the second one was, the whole tall tale of the Men in Black? Well, you just need to know that they are a real entity. Okay. Good talk. Yeah. That was fun. High five.
That's the thing about the Men in Black is there's been just a number of confirmations of them showing up in weird locations and things for many, many decades. I just saw there's a comment on the skinned dogs alive, and here's a bizarre story. If you're an animal lover, you're gonna hate this story. But so this happened several years back. Up in the Redgate area above it, there's a campground Don had mentioned briefly called Orfino Campground. And you drive up there, up in the mountains, it's secluded. It's a really nice little campground. It has this nice big gazebo outside with a picnic bench and all these things. And it's the middle of a nice summer day. This family, they're having lunch there, and you have the kids there, they're hanging out, playing catch with their dog and everything else. Then suddenly their dog just runs off and just disappears. Like, oh, shoot. Well, they couldn't find their dog. For an hour or two, they can't find their dog. Then all of a sudden, this old rusted up truck just pulls up, and these two bizarre guys like are sitting there, and they're like, "Hey," "Are you looking for your dog?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." "Well, here's your fucking dog," and they throw this round thing out of the truck. It was the dog's head. They had cut it off with a fucking pocket knife.
What in the world?
Wow.
Yeah, those guys are. Yeah, they're in prison now. I want to say.
Well, they're somewhere. But
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. A lot of times when I hear folks that have constant experiences, aliens, paranormal, stuff like that, my other question is, why are you guys still there? Isn't it? What's going on?
Yeah.
I'm not the brightest guy. Listen, I ain't the sharpest crayon in the box or whatever.
There's I think a lot of people that have them, and yeah, I've heard that a lot. I was reading something the other day, but people that don't believe initially will have like a paranormal experience, and then they'll spend their entire rest of their lives trying to go after these paranormal things. And I think part of it is they just want to figure out what happened or why is this happening, or
Right.
like that's how I feel about the film. At least I want to try to figure out. There's a lot of stories here. What is the deal with the energy in this place? Why are these crazy things happening that continue to happen? We have these bizarre deaths, really random ones I can tell you about that just continue to happen out of nowhere that don't really make sense at all for a very small town this size.
Yeah. It's kind of like they're chasing that first high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just want to get that first high again, that first initial experience and emotion that's comes with it. And then you got the questions, right? Because what do we know? Paranormal or alien? We don't have a clue.
Right. We have no idea.
Yeah. No, it's really hard to tell. Yeah.
Definitely
Well, guys,
have a lot of theories on it though. Like the power, there's a major power line that runs right over this trail cam, and they say it's a big 3-6 phase. They say with all that high energy, if it gets out of sync, it creates a black hole, which is what they travel through. And this camera is also located on the Continental Divide, which people that aren't familiar, all the water sheds to the west goes to the Pacific Ocean, and the east goes to the Atlantic. So they say, it's the energy of the plates and the earth and different vibes that way that makes it a main corridor for travel. That's a lot of the theories behind why Redgate's where it's at.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Have you guys had anyone come to you that they've conducted like a serious study, kind of like what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch? Get all the equipment out there and look for all kinds of things.
We've
That'll be this summer.
Yeah, I'll say we've had people approach us with that, but due to the fact like it's Montana in the mountains, it's still a bunch of snow up there right now because it keeps snowing up there. But,
we can't get there right now.
We tell people earliest is June, and even June you never even know. So we try to tell people late end of June, early July is your best bet, because from July through September there's pretty much no snow up there, and you can get there pretty easily. But yeah, we've had a lot of people talk about bringing equipment out. I got a couple different investigators lined up on board to do some things, and yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting summer to say the least.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys get some really good information out of these projects. So now that you guys open the gate and you're in the whole ufology paranormal situation, have you looked at other stories or situations outside of Montana that kind of are interesting to you?
Yeah, one of the things, and this is one of the investigators is going to do when they come up here is, have you, do you know what CE5 is?
Yes.
Okay, I always have to ask, I never know.
Yes. We talk about it a lot on the podcast.
Okay. We have a CE5 guy that wants to come out and do a full CE5 meditation up in the Redgate area and see what happens, and that's one of the things that I think would be really interesting to be a part of.
Tell me how that goes back, because I ain't gonna be there.
Yeah. Well, if you watch the film, Don needs to watch this, but you have to watch the film Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, and those are some of the ones, things that I've investigated. The C5 ones were, and there's just picture and video after video after video, and it's just like, wow, this is that film itself. Fuck, that film is really good. I love that film. That's a really good film.
Some wild stuff. Well,
really
another situation where there's wild stories that come out of those things, and again, pictures come out of those things that people are like, "What the hell is that? Did that really happen?" And of course, CE5. Another person that is pivotal in that conversation is Stephen Greer.
Yeah.
So, hey, if he can go up there and get you guys going on CE5, that would be fantastic.
It's in the works.
Yeah, it's in the works right now. We have a contact away from a contact that we're working on to get Stephen Greer, or at least a team of his own people, to do a CE5 event up there. Would be, I mean, you don't even need to do it; they're just showing up anyways. But like to do a intention up there, it would be interesting to see what happens. You don't know what might show up.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have no idea, but it's something that might be completely untapped. And at this point, and when you guys go up there, you're just opening up all kind of doors. And, yeah, we'll see some real crazy shit up there.
Yeah, that's the thing about Stephen Greer, because I've listened to a lot of this stuff. Is his perspective is that all aliens are friendly. What do you think about that?
No,
I'm not going to find out. So
listen. You got some in your own area. You got some friendly folks, and you got folks that hang dogs from trees.
Right.
I mean, come on. You expand that to the universe. There's some baddies out there, I'm sure.
Yeah, you can't have the good without the bad.
Exactly.
And what did they call yours? Your Retellian that you caught on your cameras, one of the bad ones?
Yeah, the very first time I went back to that spot, the guy that was filming for that episode, he goes, "Hey, man, let's just be clear here. You caught a fifth dimensional reptilian on your camera, and they're hostile by nature, and they have perception into the future, so they know we're coming back up. So, but I got a gun." I'm like, "Oh, well, I hope you got plasma bullets or whatever, but that doesn't make me feel any better." Good night.
Yeah, I mean, can your gun shoot in the fifth dimension? That's the question.
Right? Yeah, if they could, I would buy one. Yeah. No thanks. I'm not going to find out anyway. So.
Oh, geez. Listen, Stephen Greer, you gotta love him and hate him either way. The CE5 thing is interesting. There's a lot of famous people out there, which we're not going to name right now, who are conducting CE5 situations and trying to make contact with ET. Unfortunately, a lot of them they take anything as being contact, literally. And I think that's the problem with the whole CE5 thing.
There's a problem. There's also theories that we only see in like 3 dimensions. So sometimes there's certain things beyond the human, eyes that we can see physically.
Right.
Sometimes I think like when you're in a deep meditation, you can maybe have more of a relationship to those things and whatnot. But yeah, the only downside is like you still have to meditate for 30 minutes or whatever, and then everything's an alien.
Yeah, everything looks great. Yeah, but even in his stories, when he talks about the CE5, people have been healed, and they've had some great, I don't know, I don't know. I guess you got to be there. You got to be there to experience it.
People have talked about having a different level of consciousness, walking away, just a different person almost from those events that he's ran, which is really interesting. I don't know if me and Don would change our mind after Stephen Greer comes up here, but who knows?
I mean, you never know. The guy seems like he's really convincing, especially when he cries in his documentaries. So,
it's all about the crying. That's truly the key.
If that doesn't sell you, fuck it. Don't even watch his videos anymore.
That's like, I just like he's the same. He's similar to like Bob Lazar. I don't want any attentional. It's like 500 media appearances a year.
Welcome to the world of ufology. Well, that is crazy though that you guys might get the opportunity to hang out with old Stephen Greer. That's fantastic. That really launches you into the nuts and bolts of the whole thing.
Mostly
really.
Nuts.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So listen, you guys, any last words about where you are today, about what your future holds, about whether or not you'll accept a probing?
Oh, Pat will accept a probing. Jesus. He's definitely been there for sure.
As long as I got the camera rolling, man, I'm good.
There you go.
God,
we need the evidence, Pat. We need the evidence.
No.
It's been interesting, I guess. Where we're at, I think we're on the brink of a lot of things. I think a lot of things are going to be really happening here pretty soon. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I definitely think that we're on the brink of a lot here, and it's really interesting to see where this is all going to go at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think the line that I like to use on most of my podcasts, which really fits for what I'm doing right now or trying to accomplish, is saying there's no life outside of planet Earth is like taking a spoonful of water out of the ocean and saying there's no sharks or whales in the ocean because there's none on your spoon.
Right.
And it comes back down to being open-minded. As soon as you settle or close your mind, you're done for. So the more open-minded you can be and accepting of what's out there, because we really don't know. As a race, we have no idea.
Yeah, we have no clue how small we are
Right.
in this significantly sized universe. Our own galaxy is way bigger than what we can fathom.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're still finding galaxies billions of light years away.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. And so yeah, hey, in our lifetimes we might never get the answer, but for fuck's sake, there is something out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And really, you guys are on the trail of figuring out whether that something is coming here to Montana, to Redgate, just like everyone else is, trying to figure out what's happening in the world. Listen, I thank you guys for joining us. For you guys who are listening on the podcast and missed the video, it'll be up there on the YouTube channel. Plus, we will have the audio-only version that's going to go out to the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, and all those other places. Guys, I thank you guys for joining.
Thank you.
We'll make sure to share all your links. And you guys have been fantastic. Great interviewees. And I know Pat's dying over there.
I've had a cold, man. I've had a cold like for off and on.
Pat, we can't hear you. You're being a little bitch.
I think the government. I think the government's I think the government's been after me with the flu and everything else for the last several
You're
months.
the probed one. That made sense.
You're the probed one. There you go. Oh, man. Hey, guys,
Awesome.
good luck with the film. I hope
Appreciate
does
it.
really great. And if you got any updates, feel free to come back.
Yeah,
Deal.
maybe
Absolutely.
when we release the film and everything. Again, I don't know what exactly that's going to look like in the end. But when we do that,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. You guys are more than welcome.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, man. This
Thank
has
you,
been
guys.
fun.
Yeah,
Have a
this
good
is fun.
evening.
Appreciate it. You
You
too.
too. Thanks.
Pat, you fucking.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 You wanna be with me. You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans to get to friends, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool, sipping on Coke and Jack. Calling my phone when you feel alone, but I'll never call you back. 'Cause I ain't got time for that. I don't give a damn, I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn, you talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn, I don't give a damn. 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 You're mad at me for not giving you comfort. You say that I'm away so much, and now you don't feel the way you felt when we were younger. But that's okay for me, 'cause